Good afternoon. I'm Alec, and this is my co-host Jim. On this episode of Up for Debate, we take a look at the two exciting elections in the Olean area. We'll take you in depth with exclusive interviews and the greater public's opinion. AVP is proud to present Up for Debate 2021 Election Week Special.
Joining us now in our studio is one of our hosts, Prince.
After this election, Olean's Ward 4 will have a new alderman. The seat was left vacant in 2020, where an exciting race has been taking place. We have interviewed the Republican nominee and former alderman for Ward 4, Linda Edstrom. Take a look.
Hello, and welcome to the Up for Debate Election Week Special. I'm your host, Dominic, with my co-host, Prince. Today, we are interviewing the Republican candidate for the Ward 4 aldermanship. She is a former adjunct professor at St. Bonaventure University and Hillard College, as well as the former principal of the Olean Elementary Summer School. She was also the Youth Bureau Director for the City of Olean and is currently a part-time adult education coordinator for the Olean City School District. And if I may, a wonderful French horn player who just performed in the Diary of Anne Frank, put on by Olean Community Theater this last week. Linda Edstrom, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, first question, are some of the issues you when you represent Ward 4 still affecting Olean, and if so, how do you plan on resolving them?
Many of the same issues are current from when I was on in 2005 to 2010. One of those things is the housing, the trees, and I'm happy to see that the new tree committee has gotten money. Oak Hill Park, which is in my neighborhood, has a number of trees that are dangerous. Not that I'm a tree expert, but I can see when the bark is falling off that the tree needs to have some attention, either taken down or trimmed or whatever. Housing issue has been around for a long time. Code enforcement is one of the ways of dealing with this, and it's very difficult to do those kinds of things because there are friends and our neighbors, but there are issues. Only in Center City, Ward 4 is one of the oldest parts of the city, and a lot of the houses are old, and something needs to be done with a number of them. There have been a number torn down over the last number of years with help from Cattaraugus County legislature providing funds to do this. We need more of it.
What do you plan on doing for our community?
One of the things I think is very important is that when someone calls, and believe me, when you're an alderman, you get an awful lot of phone calls, that you need to take certain care that you talk with the people, find out what their issues are, and try to help in any way that you can. Communication is extremely important. When I was an alderman before, I used to get calls from people in other wards, and they would say, well, I'm not in your ward, but I've called my alderman, and nothing is happening. I think it's very important that you deal with everybody's problems. I had a boss years ago that said, you may not think it's a big problem, but to that person that's calling you, it is a problem, and we need to address those things. For the community, I've lived here a long time. I moved away years ago, taught school in Rochester, and then lived down in the Catskills. And I returned to Olean. It's my hometown. I grew up in the West End, and it's just, it really is a wonderful place to be. As all small communities, we have issues, but they can be overcome, and it's still, things need to be worked on. But I'm very pleased that we have the opportunity and we have the leadership to do those things.
And how do you plan on being more involved in that?
Being on as many committees as I can, from the public safety, Department of Public Works, the tree committee, and I'm already involved in a number of things, and all these different organizations have to work together to achieve the ends that we need.
In your many years of teaching, did you ever think about getting into politics?
When I was in sixth grade, our sixth grade teacher asked what we want to do when we grow up. Now, this was 1958. I said, I want to be mayor of the city of Olean. And everybody laughed, including the teacher, because girls didn't do those things back then. And that was kind of something on my mind for many years. I didn't run for public office until '05, but I worked on many, many campaigns. And I was state committee woman for Cattaraugus County. I ran a congressional campaign back in the '80s, and I've been very active all these years. Oh, by the way, I'm not interested in running for mayor.
What made you want to run for Ward 4 again?
A number of things. One, encouragement by my neighbors that they are looking to have representation again. My replacement, not my replacement, the replacement that they appointed, Steve Barnard, is a former alderman, good friend of mine, and I knew that Steve was not interested in running again or running for the position after he was appointed to it. And I just like the neighborhood, and I like being involved. I like dealing with people. I like solving problems. And we do have some problems. We also have a lot of good things, but I think it was the encouragement of friends and neighbors.
What are some of the positive changes you would say you made while representing Ward 4?
In '05 to '10, well, probably being active on committees and working on the statutes that are on the city. There were things like pigs can't be run down East State Street on a Sunday afternoon. Those are kind of outdated, don't you think? And we did a lot with the statutes and the resolutions, abolished many of them. I'm a firm believer that if you're not going to enforce a law or a rule, that you abolish it. If it's on the books, then you have to enforce it. And many of them were way outdated, back from the 1910s. We don't need those anymore. So that was one of the things that I enjoyed doing back then. One of the other things that I worked very hard on and got council approval to go ahead with it, but then it needed mayoral approval, was looking at having a city manager and a part-time mayor, getting a professional person in with a degree in public service, a degree in city management. And we had a very, very active very intelligent committee working on that. And the council finally approved to set up a commission, which you have to have before you can do it, and then it would go out to the public vote. But we couldn't get the mayor to agree to have a commission formed. But we spent a lot of time on it, and I still believe that a city manager is a good way to look, and that's one of the things that I, if elected, will try to get that going again.
We have a lot of empty warehouses in our area. Would you consider having large companies such as Amazon use them?
That would be a wonderful way to fill a lot of these buildings. What would be even better is if we could get a manufacturing company to come in, like down at Dresser. The pay is better. The steel workers would be happy getting, jobs back in their fields. At this point, I think that anything that we can bring in is going to benefit. But I would prefer that it would be a manufacturing. Although manufacturing in the whole U.S. is not what it was. But Amazon would be great.
What are some things you think are doing well here in the city of Olean, and what needs improving?
Well, the city beautification group with Pat Driscoll, they've done a wonderful job of maintaining the looks of downtown. It's really nice to see that. We have a little group that works over at Oak Hill Park with Leah Graves's classes from Olean High School, and anything that can be done to enhance the looks of any area is well worthwhile. I think that's being cared for very well. Things that need improving, I think that we need to be looking at wise use of tax dollars. And the budgeting takes a lot of work. I would say probably use of tax dollars is something that we need to look at.
We have a lot of historical brick roads in Olean. Would you be opposed to taking out the bricks and getting them paved?
Well, I live around the corner from North 3rd Street. That was done about 4 years ago. The street is wonderful. I like brick streets. They make the area look rustic. Would I be opposed to it? It would all depend on, back to the money. I know what I think I remember what it costs to do 3rd Street, and it's a lot of money. So I don't know, that would have to be something I'd have to look at. But I do like the brick streets.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to add as a closing statement?
I'm happy to have had the opportunity, one, to come up here and talk to all of you fine young people. I'm happy to have the opportunity to run again. Win or lose, it's always fun to go out and walk in the neighborhood and talk to people. And as I said to someone once that considered running, if you don't want to lose, don't ever run for anything, because you got a winner and you got a loser, just like with sports teams, with elections, any of those things. I'm just happy to still be able to contribute whether I get elected or not. I'm still around.
All right. Once again, thank you for joining us, and that's all we have.
Thank you.
for Ward 4 Alderman has been very respectful but certainly exciting. Sonya McCall of Olean has clinched the Democratic nomination, beating out Ezra Johnson in the primary this summer. We had the pleasure of having Mrs. McCall on our show last year. Take a look.
Hello, Ms. McCall. Welcome back to Up for Debate. It's been a while. Is there anything new you'd like to tell the voters come November 2nd?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for letting me come back and kind of update, because a lot has happened since the primary. One of the things I do want to let everybody know, and hopefully it'll be coming out in the next edition of the Olean Times Herald or such, and I'll read you. Ezra Johnson, who was my Democratic in the Democratic primary, just had submitted a statement saying, I wanted to clarify that while I will be on the ballot for the United People's Party, I strongly support Sonya McCall's candidacy for Ward 4 Alderman and encouraged everyone to get out and vote for her in the coming days. I was honored to have this opportunity, but following Sonya's win in the Democratic primary, I decided the best thing I could do for Olean was to work to get Sonya McCall elected for Alderman from Ward 4. So while I'll be on the ballot, I encourage everyone to support Sonya in this election. And he felt that was important because he had been on in terms of a third party and had made the decision once I won not to run. And when we had gone around to different people, a few people had asked us, is Ezra still running? So he felt that he just needed to clarify that. So really there's myself and the Republican candidate in the running. In addition to that, I've had the opportunity to go out and I have walked each and every one of the streets in Ward 4. I don't think people appreciate how large Ward 4 is or the importance of the ward, and that we have the majority of all the businesses on North Union Street all the way to Whitney, and then the businesses on West State all the way to 7th Street. And that's a huge responsibility, because I think that what we really need to focus on is making sure that we maintain the businesses that we have, because we have many small businesses, while we focus on also how do we recruit new businesses that are going to offer higher paying jobs, particularly with Siemens leaving. So issues that have come up to me have been the infrastructure, having activities for our youth to do. I had several people offer me suggestions. One of the big issues that people had identified was properties that are not kept up in substandard rental properties with absent landlords. That was a huge issue that came up, and we do have a process in place, and code enforcement is part of that in terms of contacting them regarding issues. And then lastly, talking about an increase in criminal behavior. I think that was one of the things. So those were the major topics that came up while I was there, going out door to door, in addition to issues regarding taxes. People are afraid. You know, one person said, listen, there used to be 26,000 people here when I moved. Now there's 13,000. And so the concern about what'll happen with the smaller tax base, and that ultimately we need to keep the same level of services and could potentially increase taxes. So those are some of the issues that came up as I was kind of going around Ward 4 and introducing myself and kind of trying to get a feel for what others in the ward felt were important issues. I think that they noted too, they haven't felt heard in a while. And so we're appreciative that somebody was coming out and actually meeting them, whether it was rainy out or sunny out. So I appreciate all the support that I've received so far.
Good. I think that was the only question I had. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Nothing other than, I just want to remind people that there's early voting. I mean, that is a wonderful opportunity for people to go out who sometimes can't get off work on November 2nd. So we do have the 25th, which is today, noon to 8, and then the 26th. So all the way until October 31st, we have the opportunity to go and do early voting. Unfortunately, the absentee ballot time has passed. And then, of course, our voting on November 2nd. And what we have said to people is, if you need a ride to the polls, let us know, and we will get out and we'll get you a ride. They can look on my website, which is www.mccallforcitycouncil.com. There's a link right there if you need assistance with transportation. One last thing I'll say is that as I went around, people didn't know what an alderman did. So I got several questions that said, what exactly does an alderman do? So that was kind of interesting to me that we had, and I'll say it was more than a handful of people asking me. So I had the opportunity to do some education out there about what our alderman and what our common council does and how we work with the departments and with the mayor. And also the importance of voting in the alderman race, because what I found is that people said, well, they voted in the general elections, but they had not voted a lot, some of them ever, in the alderman's race. So talking about the importance, because the alderman's race and the mayor race, those are the things are the day-to-day for us, that there are taxes, there are roads, our water and sewer, all of those things. And I don't think that a lot of people really looked at it that way. They look at more the national races, but have not focused on the importance of making sure that they do go out and vote for their alderman, for mayor, etc.
Thank you for joining us in this Zoom call for Up for Debate.
Well, I truly appreciate the opportunity, and thank you, Mr. Nadell, for allowing me this, and for you guys for interviewing me again. Thanks a lot.
We were glad to have you on the show.
Welcome back. We've made it a goal to ask the public what they think throughout the duration of our shows in the past, and this special will be no different. In this episode, we've asked people about both the mayoral race as well as that of Ward 4.
Do you know what Ward 4 is?
No, I do not.
No.
No.
I do not.
Have you heard of the Common Council?
Nope.
No.
No.
I do know what a common council is. It's a council of people.
Do you know what an alderman is?
No, I don't.
It's some kind of political position, but I don't know exactly.
It's the person that makes sure the parks are nice.
No.
Do you know who is currently running?
No.
What political party do you follow? Republican.
I find positives and negatives in both, but if I had to pick one, democracy.
Do you think we could use more businesses on South Union Street? Yes, absolutely.
I guess a new entertainment area like a bowling alley.
A better mall.
I think a Delta Sonic would be perfect down here. Car washes and the winters that we go through in the Olean area, it'd be a great opportunity for employment for college and high school students, but also keep our cars clean.
What do you look for in a mayor? Someone that knows what they're doing and what people in their town wants. Less empty buildings, a better mall. Are you aware of our current mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Mayor Alio. You heard of the dress-around situations?
I've heard about it, and I think it's kind of unfair for the people that were let go without a lot of warning.
I have heard about it. They're closing soon. My uncle has worked there before, and it's quite sad to see it go after so many years. I was planning on working there after I'm done here.
Yeah, they're slowly shutting down and laying people off, and sooner or later, they're going to be gone. Do you know how long a mayor holds his or her position?
They hold their position for like 3 to 4 years usually.
Yes, 4 years.
I believe 2 years.
4 years. Are you old enough to vote, and if so, are you voting?
I'm not right now, but when I am, I will be.
I am not old enough to vote yet, and I do plan on voting when I'm old.
I am not. No.
I am not. I will be in 2 months, and I'm not planning to vote.
No. How do you feel about all the empty space in the mall?
I feel like it doesn't look that good. It's really empty. There's nothing to do. You know, in most places they have their mall where they can go to, and that's where like the hangout spot, but we don't have anything like that. So it just doesn't look good.
How do you feel about all the empty buildings on South Union Street?
I think it's a great opportunity for businesses to come in and either residential housing or other businesses to liven up the Olean area.
It's sad to see Olean go to waste. This has been Public Opinion. We'll be right back after the break. Hope you stay with us.
Welcome to AVP, Audiovisual Production.
There's a lot you learn in this class, but most of the fun comes from your creativity. Every day starts the same with our daily check-in with Mr. Nadell, where we just talk about our day. Sometimes check-ins can be really funny. People get pretty animated.
Projects aren't hard. Most of the time he gives us projects on stuff we learned so we understand the material. And get familiar with the lumixes. They're super high quality, same with our broadcast equipment. We've got this red camera, and I just remember the first time I saw it, I would not stop mentioning it to my family. Do you know AVP has a red camera?
We get our own booth where we do all our editing. We use softwares like Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere, GarageBand, the works.
We do a broadcast every other week. It's a little stressful, but it taught us to work as a team, I think.
You're really like a family in here. You watch people grow.
Everyone in this class is so different, but with what we do, we really learn to get along and branch out. And we do things we never thought we'd do.
You are always excited for the next project and the next broadcast.
Out of the options that I had, it was either this or graphics in the end, so I've always had a passion for movies and cinematography and all that, so other than that, I just really felt like I would have fun here, so that was the choice.
BOCES is good. I really enjoy it. It gives me a lot of time off from actual classes at school to just come here, relax, do what I like to do, and then just go about on my day. So I really like it. It's great.
I would like to accomplish being able to run my own podcast and being able to edit videos very smoothly without any rough cuts or any bad edits.
I haven't been in AVP too long, but if I had to pick one word to describe the class, it would be informative.
Engaging.
So much fun.
To date, we have not yet covered Olean's mayoral race. We're looking to change that here today. 2 candidates, 1 incumbent and 1 challenger, will go head-to-head at the polls on November 2nd. Current Mayor William Aiello will run against Dr. Gary Harvey, a newcomer into the political space. We sat down with Mayor Aiello in our studio this morning to talk to him about the campaign and how he views the current state of the city he represents. Joining us today, we have a man that has had over 30 years of service and retired with the rank of captain in the Olean Police Department, has worked as an instructor here at our very own BOCES Center, and has been mayor of Olean for 8 years and is running again for his 3rd term. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Mayor William Aiello. I'm going to start with the first question. It's pretty easy. What drove you to run for mayor for a 3rd time?
Well, like I was interviewed yesterday by Captain Olean, and my love of Olean. And there's a lot of things that we have started, and I want to see the completion of these projects. So, a lot of people, have been talking to me, and as my term has gone on, and said, I hope you're going to run again. I hope you're going to run again. So that's why I'm running again.
Awesome. So it's more of a, like, people like having you as mayor, and they know that you do a good job. So
I'm out a lot in the public. I'm very accessible. I'm out a lot, and yes, I've been very fortunate to have the backing of the majority of the people in Olean in my tenure. So.
All right. Our next question is, in a previous episode of Up for Debate, we interviewed the mayor of Allegheny, Greg Pearl, and we asked him about what he thinks about the public's trust in local government and politicians. And we want to ask you kind of the same question. Given your experience in local politics and having already been mayor for years, do you think that the people of Olean really do have trust in you to take it again?
I believe the majority of the people do. There's always that faction that tries to put a different spin on things. But I think the majority of the people in the city of Olean have trust in our government. We have a very good common council right now, And we work very well together, and that's a key. From day one, when I became mayor, I wanted to put together a team, and I think I've accomplished that.
As of currently, businesses are struggling to stay open. Do you have any plans of action to support local businesses?
There's a lot of programs out there that are, you have the paycheck program, you have, there's different programs that the state runs. The city of Olean, we don't have the financial means to put together programs to supplement the businesses. But having said that, we do have programs in place that would help them in fixing up their buildings, we have a facade program that they can do. And in any business, the more attractive you can make your business, the more people want to go there.
All right. In another previous episode, we posed the question, is Olean getting less safe? Our statistics found that the crime rate in Olean has been getting better. Do you have further plans to enhance the public safety in the area?
Yes, in the area or in the city of Olean?
The city of Olean.
Yes. And, yes, I work daily with the police chief and the fire chief. We meet daily and go over things. But we are going to go on a campaign of more community policing. That was recommended when we did our plan for the police reform. And we're starting to get more back to what we used to do years ago. Years ago, we had neighborhood watch groups. We had a very active community policing. But years ago, that was all funded. That was funded by grants through the federal government and the state. So, it's a balancing act because we're limited to the tax cap. The tax cap is 2%. It's not a true 2%. So it's whatever when the cost of living comes out, it's whatever that is. So, but we're doing we've just settled the contracts with the 2 police unions. That'll make it more attractive to get officers here. We're struggling right now with getting people that want to become police officers. So, but we're doing the best we can with that. We do have plans to enhance our community policing, and also, we've gone on a path of better training for our police officers also.
Now, adding to that, having your experience in the police department for over 30 years, do you think that would give you like an insight and advantage to fixing that problem of furthing the safety in the city?
Yes, it's like any job. If you're a nurse, you would have a better insight into what's going on in the nursing industry if you keep up on it. I keep up on it. I was also, in my past, I was also the executive director of the State of New York Police Juvenile Officers Association, which is a training agency. We train police officers how to do juvenile work, become SROs, and things like that. So I have those resources available to me throughout the state. I've met many, many friends, in law enforcement. And when you use law enforcement, that's a broad term. It's not just police work. Mm-hmm. It takes in, probation, parole, all of the federal agencies, the state agencies. So you have all that. So you have that at you. You can reach out to people and get the answers. I'm also chairman of the Public Safety Committee for NICOM. NICOM is the New York State Conference of Mayors. So I have that behind me too. So as you gain experience and as you gain contacts throughout the state, all this is available to help you. If you have a question, you put it out and you get well, we did it this way or we did it that way. So I have all that available. But the short answer is yes. I think it does.
If you were to get reelected, would you consider providing more things for the youth to do in the area?
We're always looking at that. We have a lot of things right now for the youth to do, and many of our youth take advantage of it. But yes, we're always looking to enhance our quality of life issues. And we have plans, we're going to be drawing up plans now for a do-over of Forness Park. Working with in tandem now for more inclusive playgrounds, more inclusive equipment that'll service all people with disabilities, you know, and my eyes were opened years ago. You know, when you talk about people that have disabilities, it's not just mobility, it's not just sight, it's autism, it's mental health issues. So these are the things we want to start to provide to our community. So yes, we continue to look at things. We've you know, we just added ice bocce, not just, that was added last year, but now there's going to be a league for ice bocce. We have you know, in the summer or in the winter months we have ice skating at the rink over there. We have our recreation programs at the former St. John's School. That's a drop-in. The kids can come there. They'll be running a basketball league there. In the summer, we run you know, our summer programs. We had over 400 kids active in our summer programs this past year. So we do a lot, but you never stop looking at things that you can do to enhance the quality of life issues in the city.
So that being probably a part of one of your biggest accomplishments, Walkable Olean, and do you have any further plans to add to those advancements? And if you do you think you could share some of the ones with us? Sure.
Walkable Olean, you know, I got to give credit to the prior administration. They're the ones that started Walkable Olean, and that's you know, the council took a leap of faith in taking the Tiger Grant and doing North Union Street. You know, think about it, putting 5 roundabouts, you know, on our main street, eliminating, you know, the widest street has been said at times to be one of the widest streets in the United States. So they took that leap of faith, and it's worked out. We now have Walkable Olean 2 that was just completed. We just did a ribbon cutting on that last week at Main. You must go by it pretty much every day at Main in front and Main and Berry. So that's there. Now that's lays that out very attractive. The next is Walkable Olean 3, which will be from State and Union going east to the bridge, starting at the 100 block of East State Street by the municipal building, going there. And our goal there is to put a median in and a mid-block crossing. So if you're coming from the municipal building, want to go over to Lincoln Park, there'll be a mid-block. And the whole thing here with the walkable is making everything traffic calming and more accessible to people who are walking, riding, pushing strollers, people who are in the scooters that help them because of their mobility issues and all that. So we have this plan to put 10-foot wide sidewalks, and we're going to start connecting the trails around here. We have a trail right now that starts in War Vets Park, connects over to JCC, and then by crossing North Union Street at Whitney Avenue, you can go along the school property, get on Wayne Street, go down there, and I'm looking around because I'm so used to talking to you, so I know I'm supposed to be here.
Oh, you're okay.
But you can go Wayne Street, and then you can get on the Allegheny River Trail. So our future plans, we have Walkable Olean 3 coming in. Walkable Olean 4 will be from State and Union going south to the South Olean, the bridge in South Olean. Same type of thing, have a median there, and it creates safe passage. Instead of you having to cross 4 lanes of traffic, you now can cross halfway and basically be on a little island and then walk the rest of the way. So we want to start tying in all of these paths and trails. So, you know, Wayne Street, we just put in for a grant for there to have a 10-foot wide walkway there, which you'll tie in, and think about it. We have the new hotel over there now. We want to make sure that people at the hotel can walk up to our main business district. So we got all these plans that tie in and enhance things, and then we want to start going east to Portville. as we tie in there from Forness Park. Forness Park, we're going to be putting in for grants there to put a walking trail around Forness Park. And some of you have probably been down here. To get anywhere, you're walking through the parking lot. So we want to have a trail. We want to have a walking trail around the pond. We want to put up a 200-foot deck along the pond so people can fish off of that, or they can use the boats, the remote control boats, or anything, things like that creates more activity for the people using there. We want to put up lights on 8 and 9, fields 8 and 9, they're softball fields, so that we can have, it's been brought to our attention that we can have more tournaments here if we have lights. And, right now we have one field that has lights, because Marcus Park lights went defunct and we had to take them down. So we have field 1 that's down at Forness. That's used pretty much every night. Right now, there's a kickball league going on down there. And there's another thing that we have going on in the city. We have kickball. So these are leagues that form. We have horseshoes at down at Franchot. So our plan is to make in Franchot Park. We want to do more renovation down there. I think our goal there is to change the wading pool down there to a splash pad. So we got a lot of plans, and we're putting in for a lot of funding. So these are things to enhance the community, make everything more walkable. Think about it. If you're pushing, if you ever seen a person pushing a baby buggy on the 4-foot wide sidewalks, somebody has to go off into the grass. So with the 10-foot wide, it's a shared share to walk, and everybody will be able to move along in a safe manner.
Perfect. Now, in Olean, there are a few unused warehouses. Would you be opposed to having big businesses such as Amazon take those over?
No, I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's jobs, and they're good paying jobs. The problem with that is that these warehouses are either privately owned, so it would be negotiations between companies like that and there. Obviously, we want to get more industry in here. Siemens is going out. That's a big hit to the community, but we're going to remain confident, and we're going to, that Olean is resilient. We've bounced back many, many times, and I'm confident that we will bounce back from this also. So, but short answer there is not opposed to it, no. Would welcome things like that.
You're very welcoming to big businesses coming in to offer jobs, especially to the people that lost jobs at Siemens. Do you have any plans already of bigger businesses coming in to offer more jobs for the people that lost at Siemens?
We did actually back a while ago, right after Siemens, we got the word. Congressman Reed put together a meeting of all the businesses and in the area, the businesses and the industry in the area, and out of that meeting came. Everybody was asked to say, well, how many jobs is your business going to need in the next 18 months? Now, the total there was over 500 jobs that area businesses are going to need. Okay, now that's great, but we still have, that would be 500 additional jobs. We're still losing about 500 jobs with Siemens. Mm-hmm. So it's filling in the gaps. But we need to get more, we need to get more people to invest in Olean. And that's why we're doing all of these things with Walkable Olean 1, 2, and all of this. There is a CEO alliance. This was formed years ago, and the main driving force there was Jim Stitz Sr., who was the CEO of Cutco. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to get the CEOs together so that they could give advice to the public officials on how can we get what do they need in their businesses, and how can Olean move forward. So they meet on an annual they meet on a monthly basis. About every 3 months, I'm invited to go and speak before them and answer questions. So, and many of the recommendations that they give, we act on. And these are the people that know. These are the ones that know what it takes to bring an engineer in here and things like that. So I take advice from the CEO Alliance. We are looking for industry. There's a lot of things that going on right now. There's things that I'm not even privy to that is going on. And it's probably rightfully so, because so many times there's a big splash this company wants to come here, and then it's such a letdown when it just fizzles out. So before things, I want to see before things are released that it's on paper, it's signed, and now we have a commitment, and then that doesn't create the false sense of security, I guess you can say, throughout the community. So, but we're looking all the time. We're always talking to people. Lately, we've been there's a couple of surprises coming. I think everybody's going to be very, very, very well pleased with. But there's always these confidentiality clauses you have to sign that you're not going to disclose anything until the individual companies make the announcements. So there's a lot of things I guess you could say in the back office that are going on that you can't I can't run to the paper and say, hey, I had a conversation with this person today, and it would be creating a disadvantage to them, especially when you look at properties and stuff. Because as soon as somebody finds out that somebody's interested, then they may hike the price up on their property and things like that. Yeah. So it's all about negotiations and what a lot of this plays on New York State and what New York State can offer to these companies in tax breaks and incentives and things like that.
All right. Well, sadly, that is all the questions we have for you today. But we would all like to thank you for joining us today. It was great talking to you, and I'm sure everyone out there is glad to have to hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you. And so anytime you want to interview me, just give me a call, and I'll be happy to come up.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching.
Mayor Aiello has served as mayor since 2014 and is looking for a third term. Now we'd like to introduce you to the man who's looking to change that. This week we have a special guest joining us, a motivational speaker and minister, as well as a U.S. veteran who served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. As the Working Families and United People candidate, Dr. Gary Harvey is this mayoral election's challenger. He's also the host of his own podcast, Reflections with Dr. Gary Harvey. As an activist, he uses his platform on Facebook to share his ideas for a better Olean. Dr. Gary Harvey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we have 8 questions that we're going to share with you today. As is customary to the Up for Debate format, you do not know these questions beforehand to avoid scripted answers.
Fantastic.
So take it away with the first questions, Alec.
I guess I'm going to start with you. So what made you want to run under the Working Families and the United Parties? And what do these parties really stand for?
So I've never been one of the traditional party lines. I tend to believe that, sometimes each group can have the best idea. The best idea doesn't necessarily come from one particular group or one particular avenue. And so I vote based on, and always have followed politically, based on what I feel is in the best interest of the people. And so that was kind of the route that I went. The Working Family parties, obviously, they're more established than United People. United People was a startup for us, myself and a group of people that wanted something different. We wanted the people to be able to have a true voice instead of 2 wings on the same bird type of thought process, or an us versus them. And we have an opportunity to truly do what it is that we say we're going to do. There's the old adage that politicians, they give you those false promises and then they do whatever they want once they get elected. Right. We have an opportunity to truly do what it is that we say we're going to do. And so our goal is to truly be that voice for the people. There is in my family anyway, growing up, and I know several other people, like major holidays, right? Thanksgiving, Christmas. When you have dinner, there's the kiddie table and then there's the adult table. And the kiddie table, you're served your plate. The kids kids are given their plate and you have to accept what's given to you. And currently in the political spectrum, there's several individuals that are sitting at the kiddie table. And the current political climate has caused them to only get what's given to them. Well, United People, to put it very simply, we're trying to eliminate the kiddie table. Everybody deserves to be at the same table and have the same access to the same opportunities and have their needs and their issues addressed as well, not just because you fall into specific subsets. And so that's really what we stand for and where we're going.
Perfect. Now, on your Facebook page, you've expressed your belief that the city of Olean has been experiencing a negative growth rate. If you were to win the election, what would be the first steps towards changing this? So
first, it's not an opinion. It's actual fact. Olean has experienced a negative growth rate over the last 8 years consistently. That's a decline in population. That's a decline in businesses. And so we're in a situation where we have to do something, and we have to do something different. Well, Olean has to be marketable. That's one thing. So, what do we have available for the people of Olean? Well, honestly, when most kids get out of school, what do they have to do? We have a few programs in the city, but we don't have a lot to really establish that community, involvement. And, and I'm not just talking, government funded or city funded, or sponsored programs or school sponsored programs, but individual businesses. There's a lot of opportunity here that we can capitalize. So one thing that I want to do as far as to help with the growth and help with the businesses is really diversify the industry. So I feel it's important that we bring manufacturing jobs back, especially losing the ones we're losing with Siemens. However, it's upsetting to me that our leadership has acted like it was a surprise when they should really have been more proactive in that regard. So that's unfortunate. However, I'm confident that we can make things happen. And so bringing manufacturing jobs in is definitely a priority because that's what we're used to. But one thing that Olean has unfortunately always allowed itself is we've been held hostage by one in particular industry. So when manufacturing jobs leave, we suffer as a city. And so we have to diversify our industry. We have to monetize what we have available here. It's like we have the airport. We're not marketing and monetizing the opportunities that we have with the airport. You have diverse industries that we can bring in. You look at the recent legalization of marijuana, and from start to finish, not just the retail sale, but the production and the processing, the distribution, all of those things, and being able to essentially give everyone in the city a piece of the pie, give them an opportunity to, attempt to step into those businesses, so to speak. So that's one way. Some of the other things that we've done that we looked at on the Equity and Inclusion Committee, one of the first things we talked about is we want to bring a diverse group into the city and into the city employment. Well, if you look at our website, it's atrocious. And so that was one of the first things that myself and the other members of the Equity Committee we discussed. We need to revamp this because if you look at it, we're not inviting. It's confusing. Unless you've got time to sit there and read like you were reading a 500-page essay, you're going to miss an opportunity. And so we have to market Olean effectively, but not just market it, because I don't want to con you. I don't want you to come to the city with all these promises and then you look around going, really, what is this? So everything has to be strong, from our infrastructure, the businesses, the opportunities for our young people, the school systems. It has to be an overall conglomerate that's working together in order for me to truly deliver what it is that you're looking for. Because if you come and what I promised isn't here, you're not going to stay. That doesn't do us any good. And I can stand and I can cut ribbons and I can make speeches and I can talk about how well we're doing as a city, and then year over year there's another negative decline of population and business. That's not positive for the city of Olean. And so actively we have to put our hand to the plow. We have to proactively pursue these other industries and bring them into the city.
That was now our next question actually kind of helps because the way you were speaking very fluently and like you know exactly what you want to do. You're very head on. You have it all planned out in your mind. So with that, do you have any prior experience in the political field before this?
Not in the political field, I don't. And that question gets asked a lot. Oh, do you have any experience? You've never been mayor before, really? Well, who's been mayor until they've been elected mayor? Who's been alderman until they've been elected alderman? Who's been on the school board until they've been elected on the school board? Right. So this perception or this thought process, this preconceived idea that you have to have this level of experience. What qualifies me to step in the position first and foremost is the fact that I'm a citizen of Olean. That's the first thing that qualifies me. The second thing that I believe qualifies me is my work when I was in the military, not only being in charge of soldiers during combat, not just stateside during peace times, but during combat, as well as being in charge of up over $1 million of property and equipment at 21 years old, and being able to effectively execute what was expected of me, being able to budget and develop plans for my battalion and step in roles of officers that we had vacancies for, but I had the ability to fill and service 500 soldiers and their families. Those things give me a wealth of experience that I can apply, not necessarily specifically in the realm of politics, but at the end of the day, there was a conversation that I overheard and I interjected myself into recently, and an individual made a statement about obtaining political power. And I made the statement that if you're in politics to obtain power, you've already got the wrong mindset, because you're not about the people. In politics, you should be a servant of the people. You're a public servant. And I should be doing what's in the best interest of not just people that think like me, look like me, and want to act like me, but everyone involved in that umbrella, anyone that falls under that. And so my time in the military forced me to have to do that. I had to learn how to do that. So I had to be able to adjust programs and opportunities to fit all members of all faith groups, specifically when I was working with the chaplaincy in the military, not just people that believed how I believed. And then I have experience running restaurants. Very simply, I took over a restaurant that was, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in the red by the end of the first quarter. And ultimately, there was no way that the company saw us turning a profit, let alone making the money back. Not only was I able to effectively retrain the staff and really turn that customer experience around for the store, and not only did I put the store back in the black, but I turned a profit for that store in less than 9 months. You can't take experiences like that in your life and not apply them to politics or apply them to another position. And so I almost find it comical when people are like, well, you don't have any experience in politics. You're right, but I have life experience. And sometimes that's more pertinent.
Right. It backs up more of what you said about the parties you're in. It's a lot more of less of the political stance and a lot more of citizen of Olean.
Exactly.
Now, as you probably know, as of currently, businesses are struggling to stay open. What do you think we can do to support local businesses?
So there's a lot that we can do as far as from a grant standpoint, from the state standpoint, the federal standpoint. I think another thing that we can do is ultimately draw people into Olean. But in order to draw people into Olean, we have to do different things. They had the concert at Bradner's over the summer, which to me was outstanding. That was a great opportunity to bring people in from outside the city, to bring them in. It was a new experience. It was something different for the city. I think, unfortunately, sometimes here we tend to market events for a specific demographic. And that's unfortunate, because not just one demographic lives in Olean, not just one demographic supports these local businesses. And so if we're able to diversify those events and diversify that approach, that alone will bring people into the city. That's just a very quick and easy way that you can begin to drive revenue and drive interest into the city. But then again, I've lived in a lot of different places, and a lot of larger metropolises, a lot of larger cities. And there's a vibrancy, there's a life that's like a constant thing that's happening. There's always something going on, multiple venues, multiple areas, whether it's live music, spoken word, whether it's conferences, training. We miss opportunities as a city, again, because we focus on one particular subset instead of everything that's available.
So in one of our previous episodes, we posed the question, is Olean getting less safe? And our statistics show that the safety of Olean is actually improving. It's getting better. But we would like to ask you, what actions would you take to further that the safety?
So I think, first of all, I want to say that I think whether or not Olean's getting more or less safe, regardless of numbers, I mean, you can look at numbers, and at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. Right. They are what they are. But it's also a matter of perspective. If an individual doesn't feel safe, I don't have the right to tell them you're not it's not unsafe for you.
Right.
I don't have the right to tell an individual that. So I have to respect the fact that there are people that feel less safe than what they did previously. So I think one of the ways to combat that is closing the gap. Right now, there's a gap in the city of Olean, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. There's a gap between the police department and the community. There's a divide there. And it's something that we need to close. And how do we close that? We close that with accountability, we close that with transparency, and we rebuild a tarnished reputation that some of these communities have towards our police department. We have to rebuild that. We have to respect the fact that not everybody views them, in a wonderful light. That's the reality of the situation that we have here in the community. And so I'm a big proponent of community policing. I'm a big proponent of the community and the police departments working together. I'm also a huge supporter of an empowered civilian review board. What a lot of people feel when they hear that is they feel like it's this massive negative for the police departments. Like, oh, you're trying to, no, we're not trying to do anything. We're trying to hold you accountable. With authority comes accountability. But also what people fail to realize is they think that accountability is only directed as the police department. A civilian review board not only holds the police department accountable and maintains transparency with the police department, but it would do the same thing with the community. It's going to hold the community accountable and hold the community to a level of transparency as well. It protects both sides of the fence. It's a mediator. And it begins to close the gap that's there between the community. Because again, we've got to rebuild and regain trust. And if that trust isn't there, then people are going to feel how they feel. And we have to do our best to change that. And so visibility is huge. I'm a proponent for training. We always, that's been a big topic over the last year. All police officers need additional training. Well, in some areas, I agree, they do. And there's other aspects to policing other than showing up with a badge and a firearm. But there's also aspects of, it's not necessarily do you need more training, but being held accountable to the training you've received. As a combat vet, there are circumstances and situations when you hear about I had to make a split-second decision. Well, I've had to make split-second decisions. I understand what goes through that process, so that's something that I have the ability to speak to. Granted, it's two different worlds, and I don't want to necessarily say it's apples to apples. There are some clear differences, but there's a lot of similarities as well. And so I think that experience will help being able to build a relationship between the city, the police department, and the community itself.
Do you think that the public knowing that training and that action being taken alone would help the people feel safer in their own homes, feel safer in the city itself?
I think some would. I don't think it's a catch-all. I think it's foolish to think anything is a catch-all, and I think it's foolish to think you can wave a wand and just get the desired result.
Right.
Especially with something like this. And it has to be a constant, ongoing process, and it can't be, 30 years ago I was in the force and this is what we did, so let's do this now. Life is very different than 30 years ago. Life is very different than 2 years ago, very simply. And so there is that aspect. I do feel that with some it would help build confidence, but I think transparency, I think accountability, I think those are two things, as well as visibility. Those are three things that would really help the community, in my opinion. And I'm also not the individual that feels that I'm the only one with the answers in the room. I want to work with the community. I want dialogue. I don't want you currently the setup, common council, you come in and just make a statement and they sit there and stare at you. There's no dialogue. Well, if I can't have a dialogue, if I can't have a discussion, what's really getting done? What progress is really being made? Because you have your perspective, I have mine, but if we don't dialogue about our two perspectives, we'll never understand each other. And so I want to be able to dialogue with the community. What are the concerns? What are your ideas? Because I'm not always the smartest person in the room. More times than not, I'm not the smartest person in the room. And I'm, mature enough to understand that. And those are the things that we need to be able to capitalize on, those opportunities, those ideas, in order to take Olean in the future.
Okay. Communication with the public is key. I like it.
So, what made you want to run for mayor?
So initially, when George Floyd was murdered, I got involved with the protests locally and helping some other organizations in other areas. And I started looking at various things. I became part of the Equity and Inclusion Committee and started seeing some things on the back end. And there's some things that have really bothered me. Like I said initially, I want to be a voice for the people. That's really where I come from. I don't have a political agenda other than making sure the people get what they deserve. You know, it's not a bucket list for me. It's not a check mark on a resume. It took a lot of thought and consideration for me to decide to run for mayor. It's not something that I take lightly. I didn't enter into this and announce my campaign, you know, my candidacy, you know, like I was coming off a birthday or a holiday, because I understand that every decision that's made affects people, good, bad, or indifferent. It affects people. And, you know, unfortunately, you're not always going to be able to fix everything, but you want to do the best that you can, you know. So I really wanted to make a difference. And like I said, again, like we talked at the beginning, the kiddie table. I want to get rid of the kiddie table. I'm tired of seeing people not afforded the same opportunities that everyone is. You know, they need to be at the same table. They need to be fixing their plate. They need to be able to reach across and grab the gravy if they want the gravy. Or if I don't want gravy, I'm going to leave it there. You know, I mean, whatever it is. Some people like sweet potato pie. Some people like pumpkin pie. You know, but they should both have the opportunity to whichever pie they want. And so that's really my goal and my focus. And so when you sit in these committee meetings and you know, they have been published on YouTube. Recently, the Equity and Inclusion Committee, for whatever reason, is just going to an audio recording, unfortunately. And that's something I'm trying to change because I feel it's a step back in transparency and making it more difficult for the public to be involved. And so those were some of my goals. I want the public to be able to be involved. I don't want it to be difficult. You know, we only make a thing difficult for people to get involved if we really don't want their feedback, if we really don't want to really address their issues. So we make it difficult for them to get involved. And that's just how things work. And so I wanted to be that voice. I wanted to be that, you know, I don't want to sit in a committee meeting and hear, you know, that, well, we don't follow the city policies. Well, how is that acceptable? You know, it's not fair to the employees of Olean. It's not fair to the citizens of Olean. You know, so these are reasons that I made the decision to get involved because I truly believe people deserve an equal opportunity and they're not getting it in the city of Olean.
Okay. Now, we know you referenced it a little bit earlier with one of our questions, how you said students from like Olean High School coming out of school and having not much to do. Mm-hmm. So to give you a chance to elaborate on that, do you have any plans to like add anything to the city for youth to do like after school or?
So I think we have a fairly decent, you know, the after-school program, the drop-in program that we have. I think that's fairly decent. We have the various leagues. You've got the, what is it? We've got the kickball. We've got, over the summer, you have the different softball leagues. You have the skate rink. So, I mean, we have some things here in the city that are available, but what do we have that's in the now? We have an opportunity. We could create a cyber hub. There's no reason we couldn't have a cyber hub, a media hub available for students to come in and game, or right. You know, extend studies, or you know, those types of things. You have there's various grants where you can create even something very similar to what you guys do here. You know, audio, visual type of things, or production, music production, those types of things. Opportunities that are both translatable skill sets into the workforce as well as hobbies. You know, so there's those opportunities. We have several facilities here that we could turn into even like an airsoft facility. I was on a paintball team in Florida, and we have plenty of property in the city of Olean to make a paintball field. We have those opportunities. And paintball leagues, people come literally from around the country to go to various events. Oh, yeah. So there's that aspect. You know, yeah, the traditional, the bowling alley, the arcade, that type of thing, but really hyping it up, really souping it up like it is in other places that I've seen. So it's not just your status quo, oh yeah, we got a bowling alley. Okay, yeah, but there's so much more you can do with that. So those opportunities as well. And then you have, you know, want to partner with other organizations. There's local martial arts schools that we can partner with that already do their own thing, but we can offer other opportunities as well. Like there's a plethora of things that we can step out into. But again, I think an important piece to that is that dialogue with the community. Young people, what do you want to do? You got to talk to us. You got to let us know. Mm-hmm. Because what I enjoyed when I was in high school might not even be a thing now, you know, type of thing. And so if we're not having those conversations with people, I'm a gamer. you know, and so as far as that's concerned, I understand the relationships that are built that way and the confidence that's built that way, you know, and so those are all different things that we can look at to bring in. We have a plethora of opportunity. We just have to act on it.
Right, and like you said earlier, that the bringing in more opportunities for activities for the youth, that would bring in more opportunities for small businesses and businesses brought in to give more of a spotlight shined on Olean.
No, exactly. And you look at, if somebody's going to move to an area and they have kids, one of the first questions they ask is, what type of school is there available for my kid?
Mm-hmm.
What's the crime rate? You know, people look at that, they want to pay attention to that. And then what's available for my kids to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if we can't offer those things, we're not really going to draw people. And so we've got to be able to offer that.
Now, for our last question, do you have any plans to continue the enhancement of the downtown area through walkable Olean if you get elected?
I think that we're making good progress there. I think that it does afford us the opportunity to continue to move in that direction. But I don't necessarily want to focus on quote-unquote walkable Olean. Like, I think that's great. You know, I think, you know, making it more accessible to everybody is a very important aspect. But even making it more accessible, okay, that's fine. But what is there to do once I can access it? You know, if I can access it but there's nothing to do, I'm not going to go. If I can access it and there's no businesses open after 5 o'clock and I get off at work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'm not going downtown. You know, so we have to, again, I go back to the various events that we can work with, or, you know, partner with some other organizations, doing live concerts, those types of things, community involvement that will make downtown a focal point and not just during lunch focal point. Mm-hmm. You know, most places I've lived, downtown is the epicenter. At 5 o'clock, it's lit. At 5 o'clock, it's exciting. There's life, there's vibrancy. At 5:30, 6 o'clock in downtown, Sometimes it's on point. Sometimes there's some energy. Oftentimes, it's not there unless you're in front of 1 or 2 restaurants. You know, so being able to really expand that, make that accessible to the downtown area, that's one focus I want to have. Being able to utilize our parks, our trails effectively and doing different things with those is also something that I have on the agenda.
Now, would you say that the events and the activities and stuff like that are on a higher priority than the walkable Olean? Believe that you have to have that before you can start having the connection, like the walk?
No, not at all. I think they're kind of one and the same. Honestly, obviously you have to have access to a place. So, you know, I can't. If you ever seen the movie Field of Dreams, I'm going to date myself a little bit. If you've seen the movie Field of Dreams, you know, if you build it, they will come. And it's actually misquoted, but. You know, yeah, I can build it, but if I don't have a way to get there, then there's no point. Right. So you can't neglect one for the other. You know, there has to be access, but once we have that access, what am I providing you? You know, what is the city providing? You know, and so that's very important to me. And again, like I said, I'm not always the smartest person in the room. I'm of the belief that you surround yourself with the smartest people in the room. And I don't always have the best ideas. I don't always have the right ideas, and I'm okay with that. You know, and so again, that discussion with the community, with business leaders, with the, you know, leadership of the city, you know, all have to be in dialogue in order to make the best decision for the city of Olean.
Right. So they would both have to be worked on kind of simultaneously. Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for watching.
We'd like to thank all of you on behalf of our whole team for joining us for this very special episode. This concludes our coverage of the 2021 election. Please join us again in a few weeks as we begin once again talking about news stories. And remember, get out there and vote this November.
On behalf of my co-host Alec, thanks for tuning in.